Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another rendition of the All We Do Is Talk podcast. I'm here with Moody and Isaiah. How we doing?
What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all?
Doing really well, Eric. I'm doing good.
Anyway,
How you doing today, Eric?
not good.
It's a victory week going on.
I got Notre Dame apparel on today, not the Panthers.
Maybe for the college podcast.
But so we're going to start with the Week 7 review. We'll start with Thursday night, where the Browns edged out the Broncos 17-14 on Thursday Night Football.
The Broncos are one of two teams that started 3-0 and then have completely face planted into the abyss.
Hey, pause. You know what that's called? Foreshadowing.
I appreciate you pointing it out to the audience. But, yeah, that's what's just happened to the Denver Broncos. They've completely fallen apart. They played the Jets, the Jags, and the Giants. They ran through them because those are –
They wouldn't beat the Giants today. They
ran through some bad football teams, and now they've played some good football teams. They can't win anymore. Teddy Bridgewater is struggling with an injury, and yet they still won't put Drew Lock in the game. I think that says a lot about where they think Drew Lock is at this point.
Or how bad the coaching is.
That's true as well. Vic Fangio, is he making it out the season?
Hell no.
Like,
hell no. The AFC West.
Not even with the 3 wins he got.
Vegas look amazing. Unless they beat the Chiefs. They have 2 games against the Chiefs to figure out how bad it is.
Yeah.
But I don't care how bad the Chiefs are.
Overall, they just
lost to the B team of Cleveland.
They lost to the B team of Cleveland. Bridgewater has shown no ability to be able to move them on offense anymore after a hot start. He's playing with injuries. The receiving core dealing with injuries. It's just not good for them on offense. And on defense, where Vic Fangio is supposed to be operating one of the more talented units in the league, they just got smashed by Cleveland's third-string running back.
They do have 5 injuries at the middle linebacker position.
I mean,
it's pretty.
That's the whole secondary's out there.
They only gave them 17 points.
Because they were playing Teddy Bridgewater.
No, they were playing Case Keenum.
They were playing Case Keenum.
Who could play? He ain't no scrub. As we would have said, Case Keenum is probably the best backup quarterback in the league.
Yeah, that's why we should be a great backup quarterback game. That's why 17 points. Like that's ill. Like, come on, I need you to hold them to 10 points. Then you're supposed to have this great defense. They held you to 13 points with your starting quarterback.
That was week 1. It's not week 1 no more. Teams are hitting their stride. They've had their preseason.
Congrats to Dearness Johnson on the Browns for
winning your fantasy week.
Only in one league, but for him, he came from the AAF. The man wasn't really highly drafted. I think he and Daniel Jones had the same 40-yard time or whatever, 148 yards rushing, a couple of touchdowns from Dearness Johnson. Fantastic showing for him. The Browns did something that the Browns don't normally do, and that's overcome adversity. They overcame it with the injuries. They overcame it in game with holding off the Broncos every time they tried to make a push, and they just they got the job done. They have a really talented team, and they invested in having a good backup quarterback. I don't know how big the fall is from Baker to Case Keenum.
Exactly.
That's probably pretty helpful.
Yeah.
But overall, good win for the Browns. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, all I gotta say is all the ties to Minnesota. Stefanski's from Minnesota. Pat Shermer was from Minnesota. Teddy Bridgewater, Case Keenum. So it's just a bunch of people running that Minnesota system against each other. And it was the start of a bad football week, and that it was just a precursor. Not much else to say other than let's move on. Eric, you got anything else to say about this game, really?
Not really. This was a snoozer. I think the Broncos needed this win more than the Browns did, especially facing a backup quarterback. But, I'm not going to talk shit about the Broncos because my team's in the same situation.
Yeah, y'all are the NFC Broncos.
Yeah. All right. So we'll start with the 1:00 slate. We'll start with the Patriots absolutely demolishing the Jets 54-13.
Bill Belichick.
Was this the biggest shock of the week?
No. What was shock?
Think about it, though. We projected blowout.
Yeah.
I said 35-0. We dropped a 50 burger on them with a backup quarterback just running screens and dump offs.
It's just surprising that they ran up the scoreboard the way they did on the Jets.
No, Bill Belichick hates
perhaps. But it's just like, we know the Jets are abysmal.
No fight.
They picked this week, and unfortunately, Bill Belichick picked this week to say, Josh McDaniels, open up the downfield playbook for Mac Jones. And they got aggressive. They threw the ball.
They actually really didn't. They just threw screen passes all day.
What? yak yards, I guess. it was a pretty much of manhandling by New England on both. It was one of those complete Belichick games. We know how New England at least once or twice a year is going to have a game where they just dominate in every phase of the game, and you have no shot of winning that day.
Yeah, because they play the Jets twice a year. It's always against what's.
It's not. No, Tennessee's had to go through it a couple of times. Like, this is 50 to 0. Even early years, Peyton Manning had to go sit down and get stomped out 40-0 sometimes. That's what Bill Belichick.
But it's usually the Jets.
Sometimes once a year, Bill Belichick gets you. The Jets. That's what happened to them this week.
Zach Wilson getting hurt is probably the biggest headline of this game.
It's probably the best thing that could ever happen to that boy. He doesn't have to play anymore. If I was him, that PCL would be bothering me the rest of the season. Like, you don't have to. He shouldn't have to play anymore. That team's a disaster.
He needed a month off. He'll be back for the back end when all the other teams are really injured and it's pretty as even as
so he can start playing the teams that are geared up for the playoffs. And the teams start ramping it up.
Is that the type of schedule the Jets have? Like the Jets are finishing with. Miami and Jacksonville. So 2 good games before he gets fed to the slaughter.
I was looking at this next 3 run right there.
Yeah, he's not playing that. That's up to them. They weren't going to win those games anyway. But Dolphins and Jags game in the last month of the season before they get slaughtered by
the Bucs and the Bills. Yeah, just in the season, Jets.
Eric, anything else to say about this game? Luckily, these are all blowouts. So
I mean, yeah, this was a Bill Belichick game. I mean, Mac Jones looked pretty good. I know it was a lot of yak yards, but 24 for 36, that's not too bad. And yeah, I'm happy for Zach Wilson to at least get a break. So
he's gonna need.
Let's move on to another ugly but exciting game. The Falcons beat the Dolphins 30-28. I think the Falcons won on a game winner. But yeah.
The Falcons tried to Falcon this up in the best way possible. In complete control of the game, football in your hands. All you got to do is take care of it. So Matt Ryan had to put the ball on the ground. Miami drove down the field. Tua looked really, really good once again. Although
good, I would say really good.
4 touchdowns,
2 interceptions.
But I only think one of those were even kind of on him. So overall, I thought he took care of the football really well. He made plays. We know the Falcons defense isn't good. We know the Jags defense isn't good. But Tua has shown flashes of being a starting NFL quarterback in this league with the way he's performed the last. He's been very accurate. Him and Jalen Waddle have picked up their chemistry over the last couple of weeks, and it's helped Miami's offense start to look decent. Problem is, defensively, they can't stop anybody. Xavier Howard, who all-pro corner, 10 picks last year. Kyle Pitts took him behind the woodshed and smacked him around all Sunday long. The Atlanta's finally realized that Kyle Pitts is a receiver and not a tight end. They've cut down his inline snaps and basically
put him up, just line him
played him
up
at receiver. And now that they're playing him at receiver, he looks spectacular. Back-to-back 100-yard games. And him and Jamar Chase battling it out for Rookie of the Year is going to be pretty exciting if he can keep up this pace. But overall, a good win for the Falcons. They continue to fight and scratch and claw and
nice little soft stretch of the schedule.
And be able to beat some inferior football teams.
I'll throw a shout out. Big game from Mike Gesicki. He's been carrying the fantasy team, and I got Kyle Pitts in the same league with him, so bless up for that. Big game from Mac Hollins and Isaiah Ford. Question mark.
Yeah. The Falcons don't cover very well.
Tua looked good, had a few turnovers, and is still probably going to get replaced by Deshaun Watson in a couple of days. So we'll wait to see on that. Eric, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Waddle probably had one of his better games, but it still wasn't anything impressive. For what they did, they could have had Jamar Chase for all, and they traded back to trade back up. So I'm starting to question that investment into that.
You're starting to? You probably should have been questioning it in May when
they try to do the same thing, get the chemistry with the quarterback and player.
So you got to give them a first-round pick?
Don't forget they got 2 first-round picks back when they traded back. So they gave away one of the problem is they gave away theirs and their trash.
They gave away they're going to give up a top 5 pick.
Pick, yeah, which is the one they earned.
They got Jalen Waddle.
But they got San Francisco pick, and San Francisco looks bad, so they'll draft in the top 10.
I figure they probably prefer would they rather have Rashawn Slater, not the extra first round pick?
Yeah, but they wanted Jalen Waddle. Let's move on. What's next, Eric? This was the only good game, the only competitive. We're not going to confuse competitive for good, but it was the only competitive game with high scoring all week.
So we'll go to Lambeau, where the Packers face the Washington football team, 24-10.
This game was insane because Washington football team statistically dominated the football game. They threw the ball well, they ran the ball well, marched up and down the field the entire game. But when they got inside the 20 against the Packers, who have one of the league's worst red zone defenses,
Taylor Heineke decided he didn't want to score a touchdown.
They left with no points. No point. Not just no touchdowns. No points.
They went for aggressiveness, though. Aggressiveness. He said if they had kicked those 4 field goals, that would have put some pressure. That's 12 points right there, and they lost by 10. Aggressiveness. Sometimes
but just damn. They like Taylor Heineke gave himself up 1-1 play. It was just a masterclass on choking in the red zone. If you want bad red zone tape, look at what the Washington football team did against the Green Bay Packers. It seemed like they spent the whole drive inside the whole game inside the Packers 10-yard line, and they never got out of there with points. Green Bay, they were there 4 times. They only converted twice, but that's the difference in the game. They won by 2 touchdowns, and they scored 2 touchdowns in the red zone.
Yeah, at this point, I have Green Bay in that second tier with the Cowboys. They have a nice record, but neither have really super duper wins. I'd probably say the Cowboys are better because I've actually seen them beat a good team. But Green Bay's their defense isn't that good. Their defense isn't that good,
especially with their best pass rusher on IR
and their corner and Jari Alexander out. So like they were getting marched on.
And Adams is on the COVID list now.
Yeah, we saw him go. So that makes a big game coming up against Arizona.
Thursday night's going to be interesting.
But yeah, sucks for the Washington football team because their defense played one of the best games of the season, and they still lost. I think they're still a good team if they got some better quarterback play.
You can't call them a good team.
They're an average team. Some of these teams are better than their record implies, but they're probably a bad team. But if they got some better quarterback play, they could have easily been and a couple bad fumbles away from having a winning record. So
they're also Dexter Lawrence jumping off the snap from having 1 win, or a halftime miracle kick return from being over. So a bad team is usually close from being either 500 or over. That's usually what bad teams look like.
Anything else to say about this, Eric?
No.
This was the closest blowout.
Yeah, I mean, Washington should have won this game, I think. But
they really should. They should have.
But better quarterback play. It's gonna.
When Green Bay was in the red zone, they scored because we had Aaron Rodgers. They had Taylor Heineke. Well said, Eric. Well said.
So we'll go to probably the most surprising finish of the 1 o'clock slate. Tennessee beats the Kansas City Chiefs 27-3.
Vegas has been milking money off of making Kansas City 5-point favorites.
Not from me
either. Making Kansas City constant near touchdown favorites on the road against AFC playoff teams. It hasn't made any sense, but somehow they've gotten away with it every week. And Kansas City has just shown that they aren't a good football team right now. They have 3 good players on offense, and they have 1 good player on defense. That's it.
They're top heavy.
That's their
entire roster. What did LeBron say?
We top heavy as hell. Unfortunately, in basketball, a top heavy can carry your team. In the NFL, if your top heavy is part of the problem, you're gonna look like what the Kansas City Chiefs have looked like recently. And on Sunday, it was the culmination of what they looked like since the Super Bowl. The offensive line that they tried to retool was awful. They gave up furious pass rush all day to Patrick Mahomes.
And Tennessee got some good pass rush.
They're not great at rushing.
Bud Dupree and Harold Landry, Denico Autry.
They got solid pass
Simmons. They got guys who are like
good players. They shouldn't have been getting there with 4 as easily as they were. Mahomes also still has a problem with holding the ball and trying to make plays when he could just take the easy ones. Led to more turnovers in this one. The forced throw that led to the interception, and then the fumble when he should have just slid or gotten out of bounds. Not to mention the weekly tip drill that's going to happen to the Kansas City Chiefs that leads to a pick. It's just the culmination of all that. It all went wrong at once for their offense in this game. And on defense, they can't stop anybody. So
4 possessions, 4 scores.
The game was Titans touchdown, 3 and out.
Which is weird. Did you know that the Chiefs deferred the ball to Tennessee to kick it towards them to start the game? So they chose to go down 7-0.
I mean, most teams like to defer.
Not with a bad defense, you should never defer, especially when your offense is your strong suit. So
they got behind and they just could never recover. Mahomes took a nasty shot to the head. It's crazy that he's already out of concussion protocol. That's insane. But
saw Daniel Jones. He played the next one.
Yeah, bro. great win for Tennessee as they continue back-to-back wins off of Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. That's after losing to the Jets. That's how you bounce back from that.
Yeah, that season.
That's how you throw that Jet sauce out down the drain and flush it. They're finally healthy on the offensive end, and it's showing on their offense, especially in their play action passing game. Because Derrick Henry wasn't amazing in this game, and they still managed to move the ball as well as they needed to.
Now Kansas City did sell out to stop him, and that's why it looked like Ryan Tannehill was throwing against air because he might as well should have. Because
the Kansas City secondary, yeah.
Yeah, I mean this loss is bad for Kansas City because it's gonna even prove that. I mean we all picked Tennessee, but it just proves that their defense is the worst in the league. Their offense is Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce, and something's off with Tyreek Hill, which is making something even more off with Patrick Mahomes throwing down the field. They're not making explosive plays happen, and teams have figured that out. And the offensive line had one of its worst games, and it's a run-blocking offensive line, and they don't run the ball. So
they're going to have to change what they do. At least they don't have to go completely to the run game, but they're going to have to find a way to better utilize the offensive line that they have, or this is going to keep happening against good football teams. Yeah, they'll be able to beat Washington. They'll be able to beat Philly.
Not the Giants this week.
They'll probably beat the Giants on Monday night. But overall, in the thick of the race, they're a Super Bowl or bust team, and right now it's looking like a bust.
And they're not winning no Super Bowl this year. I mean, that's what I told y'all start the season. They wasn't winning no Super Bowl coming off a Super Bowl loss. Super Bowl hangover, and they're probably never going to win a Super Bowl with this iteration of this team again. The next chance they get to win another Super Bowl will probably be like we've seen with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning with the next era of players that they put around Mahomes. But luckily they have Mahomes as long as they keep him upright, which actually this year he's been getting smacked around. So now they're not even protecting him that well. So we'll see. This could get worse. And I still believe that the Chiefs will make the playoffs, even if they were to lose the Giants this week, but it could still get worse because the injuries haven't even come for them like that. Anything else to say about this, Eric?
I give Kansas City's defense for at least stopping Derrick Henry for a little bit, but selling out like they was you should be able to do that. A.J. Brown finally had a game showing out. He had 8 catches, 133 yards, and a touchdown.
He looks healthy again.
Yeah, so it was good to see him get back on track.
On that note, though, Julio still looks like he's still a little necked up.
But as long as the formula is here now that they're all playing, if you try to smash up Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill will light you up in the play action passing game. If you don't stop Derrick Henry, you're going to give up 20 yards rushing. They have a formula. It's very simple. It's very easy to execute.
And it's playoff efficient. So they're probably one of the more scarier teams to see in the playoffs. But let's keep going on the slates of this was probably the most shocking blowout. But next blowout, Eric?
I'll let you start it, Isaiah.
Oh, you want to go there? We didn't have to go there right away.
The Carolina Panthers lost to the New York Giants 25-3.
Eric, that's an 0-2 record on the podcast against the Cowboys and Giants this year. That's pretty rough.
All I gotta say is at least the Carolina Panthers have something in common with Kansas City. They decided to not score a touchdown this week. What are the only teams that didn't score a touchdown this week? That is correct.
No, the Houston Texans
and Chicago
also did not score touchdowns.
So a lot of people not scoring touchdowns this week, which is crazy to think of in a offensive-driven league. But this was probably – was this the worst game of the slate?
Yes.
There was some game. The Patriots game was over right away.
Yeah, but at least the Patriots are showing you some high-flying stuff.
Yeah, this game was bad. It was 5-3 at halftime. 5-3 at halftime. You didn't miss anything missing. If you didn't see this game, you didn't miss anything in halftime except for bad Sam Darnold and bad protection for Sam Darnold. And Giants-wise, just bad Jason Garrett. Just regular Jason Garrett play calling. Giants were terrible in the red zone to start because they're bad in the red zone. But the MVP of the team, Mr. Graham Gano, will clutch up and keep kicking field goals. He's probably going to set the field goal record this year. Another former Carolina Panther. We saw Sam Darnold throw a pick to another former Carolina Panther, Mr. James Bradbury. Very bad decision by Sam. Just kind of threw it to Giants players and way overthrown. And the Giants defense shut down the Carolina's offense because it was pretty bad. And now Carolina, who went from saying that they were going to stick with Sam, benched him for P.J. Walker. He looked worse because he was in the XFL. And now they got to go try to trade for Deshaun Watson. So
yeah, the Panthers are a team that really they over forecasted how good they thought they were going to be. And it started in the draft. Actually, it started with the Sam Darnold trade because anybody who was watching
Technically,
Jets,
the draft came first.
the draft, they didn't trade for Sam Darnold already?
No,
I thought
they
traded for
already
Sam
had. They
Darnold.
might have came like the same week.
Yeah, it started with the Sam Darnold trade. Anybody could see that Sam Darnold was not a good quarterback, and he
showed flashes.
They gave up.
He showed flashes before
against the Cowboys.
And I'm not even I'm not even as big. He showed some the game against Denver a few years ago that they lost to Brett Griffin's kid.
And listen, I'm not even going to be mad at the Sam Darnold. It started with the Sam Darnold trade. The mistake happened when they were picking 9th on the board, 8th on the board, and Justin Fields was available. Mac Jones was also available, and they decided to pick a corner. And then they doubled down by trading for another corner mid-season.
They don't need him.
I
feel sorry for Stephon
The
Gilmore.
Panthers will keep making all these win-now moves, and they're clearly not a win-now football team. And that's what's shown here. Sam Darnold looks like Sam Darnold, and their offensive line is abysmal. They've done nothing to address it. Sam Darnold, who when he's under pressure, is going to turn the ball over. Like this, we know the formula. That's exactly what he did in this game. That's exactly what he's been doing for the last month as they've gone on this massive free fall. And the Panthers are who we thought they were to start the season. They beat up some bad teams. The Saints win. That'll be one of the bigger anomalies of the season of 2021. But they've settled back into being what we thought they were, kind of like a young team with some talent upside, but a little ways to go.
And lastly, before we let Eric talk about his pain, big win for Joe Judge because he was the coach that the Giants had to go with because David Tepper didn't let the coach of the Panthers out the door when he went to their meeting. So they want because Matt Rule came from the Giants. He was the O-line coach during the Super Bowl run in 2011, and he was scheduled to go visit the Giants after Joe Judge interview, but David Tepper didn't let him out the door because he gave him that giant contract, and now that's a lot of pressure cranking up for him and Joe Brady because the offense guys don't look like Robbie Anderson. He's been pretty terrible.
Robbed them.
Yeah, and so Eric, go ahead and you can finish here, or you can just move on.
No, I would like to voice my opinion a little bit. If we extend Sam Darnold, I will lose my mind. Get in the talks. I heard some things that they're back in the talks for Deshaun Watson. I think that he won't play for the rest. He won't play for the rest of the year. So then you'll still have this bad draft pick that you're going to have coming up. Draft offensive line like Tyler Linderbaum from Iowa. He is electric.
No, gotta take him in the top 10. I want the center from Iowa, Tyler Linderbaum.
Yeah.
He's going in the top 10 now. Let's pump the brakes.
Hey, Cameron's not in the top 10. He could fall into some more wins. But if
quarterbacks are going to go higher than they.
Not this year.
That's a conversation for a different podcast.
But address offensive line in the draft and free agency and trade for Deshaun Watson and gold. I think they would finally be able to compete at a level I want them to compete at.
Yeah, I mean, if they just got Deshaun Watson, they'd be fun because he knows how to operate a bad offensive line. So with the weapons they have, the coaching they have, and the defense they have, if they just got to play a force multiplier at quarterback like Watson,
because you're going from the 30th best quarterback in the league to a top 10 quarterback in the league.
If he plays, we don't even know if Deshaun Watson is going to ever play. He might be going to jail. We don't even know. But next game, Eric?
I can see where the front office is going, where they thought they could win now, because just about every spot is good enough to win, except like the two most important parts of
O-line and quarterback.
Yeah.
You're not winning anything, no matter how good your team is. If you got a bad quarterback and bad O-line.
But that's my pain, my misery. I'm moving on to the draft, getting my board.
Like I said last week, whoever lost this game would turn their heads towards the draft.
It's just
all right. So so the most surprising, but not on this podcast, because all three of us took Cincinnati. Shit pumps the Ravens 41-17.
Yeah, once again, the Ravens getting 6.5 at home over Cincinnati was insane, and it showed in more ways than one in this one. The Ravens Lamar Jackson's been awesome. He's been an MVP.
He's never got to carry them every week.
Yeah, but unfortunately, when you go against a team with a really good run defense, which is what the Cincinnati Bengals are bringing to the week. It's different than the Chargers, who are great against the pass to high safeties but can't stop the run. The Cincinnati Bengals are a team that's going to shut down your run game. That's what they did to Lamar Jackson this week. He did tee him up for one explosive play to Marquise Brown.
Contained him really well.
But other than that, he didn't do a whole lot against them, especially in the second half. They had no answers on how to move the ball after the Marquise Brown explosive touchdown. And then I'm going to say the defensive game plan was poor coaching. Like that's just what it was.
That's their game plan. The Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers do what they do. They do what they do, and that's it.
But I literally just saw them a week ago.
Mahomes broke them.
Decide to be like, hey, but all right, no blitzing. We'll back off.
Mahomes, you can't. Now they found out.
Numbers have already shown that Joe Burrow is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL when he's getting blitzed.
Now think about it.
His offensive line is good, and Jamar Chase can't be covered one-on-one.
The last time they played Joe Burrow, he had his worst game of his career against them due to the blitz.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, now it's over. There's something new. They found out something new that no, this team is not a team that we just gonna show up and pump.
Yeah,
and they might have came in a little bit more confident. And Cincinnati probably ran it up.
Oh, they absolutely ran it up. The Baltimore Ravens have been running up on ever since Lamar Jackson joined the team. They've been beating them by 3 touchdowns at least every game. Cincinnati definitely decided to run up the scoreboard on them. Big props for that, for being able to do so. But we know we've gone this whole time, we didn't even mention Jamar Chase. This was the story of Jamar Chase. He has the award now. You might as well give it to him.
Did I predict him earlier this season? I can't even remember. I want to look back and look at that.
Yeah, Jamar Chase is fantastic. They played him in one-on-one coverage, and he just kicked whoever in front of him's ass. Every single Humphreys, whether it was Jimmy Smith, the safeties, double teams, it didn't matter. No matter what they threw at him, he beat it. He beat it badly. He got away with the one fumble because the dude kicked it out of bounds at the last second. But other than that, he was outstanding from start to finish, and he single-handedly bullied the Baltimore defense, which is something you rarely see.
Yeah, Sam Darnold probably was going to get the GOAT of the week, but luckily for him, Marlon Humphreys decided to be the number 1 target for the Cincinnati Bengals offense, and he was giving up yards and touchdowns endlessly. And he was terrible. Jamar Chase beat him on the outside, beat him across the middle, beat him going deep. He beat him any way he wanted to. He just treated him like however he wanted to. Joe Burrow was hitting him. Quiet game for T. Higgins and Mr. Tyler Boyd.
I mean, Jamar Chase had 200.
I think those two guys will start getting more. But they're getting targets. Their targets have gone up, so they're going to start working them back in. And CJ Uzomah and Jamar Chase won't catch passes and get so much yak. The tackling was terrible for Baltimore.
Oddly bad for Baltimore. Generally a very good tackling team, especially at the DBs, and guys weren't going on the ground.
Big game for Joe Mixon. Big game for everybody on the Cincinnati Bengals because they were just busting their ass. They did a good job containing Lamar Jackson in the pocket, in my opinion. That was, the most impressive thing probably that they did.
100%.
Eric?
Yeah, this was Humphrey's worst game of his career. I think the most he'd given up before that was like 140 was the most in his career before this game, and then he just let Jamar Chase do whatever he wanted.
Hey, I will say on the contested catches, he was in Jamar Chase's head.
It looked easy the whole thing. It looked easy. I never at any point thought Humphreys had a chance to guard Jamar Chase.
And he forced the fumble that one time. So
after Jamar Chase had broken a 30-yard explosive play and was bullying him out of bounds, he found a way to finesse the ball out. Congratulations.
And it didn't matter.
And they didn't end up with the ball.
But yeah, Eric, continue.
But that's it. Like I just think this was a little coming out party for the Bengals. Now they can. It was a big win for the division for them to truly put themselves into that conversation to win that division.
The Bengals have the best record in the AFC right now.
Mainly because all the AFC teams have had to play all the AFC.
Yeah,
so they're all beating up on each other.
They're all beating up on each other. The AFC is a bloodbath, man. It's a bloodbath.
All right, so let's move on to the 4:00 slate. We'll start in Las Vegas, where the Raiders beat the Eagles 33-22.
The Eagles continue their free fall. They just happened to play another team in the Panthers who were also in a free fall. That's the only reason they were able to find another win since that Falcons game, because they're awful. They're just so – the offensive line's beat up. The quarterback doesn't look like an NFL quarterback as a guy who you want as a starter. Their weapons at receiver and pass catcher and running back are mediocre at best, and then when they use them, they get hurt. Their defense secondary is bad. They can rush the passer a little bit, but that's about all they do well. And so the Raiders took them to task. The Raiders continue to look really, really good since the John Gruden thing. Derek Carr, after a couple of down weeks, has picked this game right back up, especially with the explosive down the field plays, the rugs. But no Darren Waller in this game, and they still moved the ball with ease against the Philadelphia Eagles. So they had no chance. The Raiders defense continues to be a surprise this year. Max Crosby's having a DPOY type of season at the edge position. Casey Hayward, and the other cornerback that's the opposite of him in the Raiders. I can't remember what his name is right now.
Is it not the first round pick from Ohio State?
I don't think it's Arnett. I think they moved him out of the lineup. But they have another guy over there.
Who's actually, I think I know.
And they've been really good in the secondary. Trayvon Moreg has been a revelation at the safety spot as well.
I think they've been better up front rushing the passer.
No, it's the chicken or the egg. One goes hand in hand with the other. But overall, the Raiders, after some down weeks, looks like with the John Gruden thing going on, was really a big part of that. They've kind of settled back into being they're not the Broncos, they're not the Panthers, they're not one of these pretending teams. They like a team who could be a playoff contender in week 17, week 18.
And on the Philly side, I mean,
they suck.
They might have 3 top 15 picks next year if they get lucky. At least at worst, they'll have 2 top 10. At worst, they'll have 2 top 10 and another first. So they'll have 3 first round picks. They can start getting ready for the draft. Jalen Hurts, I've always never believed he was an NFL quarterback. His passing has been bad, and now teams have contained him. He's Mr. Garbage Time this year, though. He's putting up a nice Blake Bortles garbage time season. I think I saw that he's got most of his stats are coming in the fourth quarter.
For the fantasy players out there, Jalen Hurts is still a top 10 fantasy quarterback, but come on.
This game is the game I watched the least because it was
ugly.
Not much there. I love that stadium in Vegas, though. Got to visit it sometime. Eric, anything else to say about this?
No, not really. I mean, I was surprised that Darren Waller was out.
His replacement
they were still able to have the offense moving.
His name David Moreau. Foster Moreau. He was good. He was really good.
UCLA.
Two tight ends now. Mm-hmm. And more weapons. Oakland has a shit ton of weapons.
All right, let's move on to LA, where the cover gods, the Detroit Lions, got it done against the spread at least. The Rams won the game 28-19.
The most disappointing thing to happen to me this football weekend is that I picked. If you were following this, you would know that I picked every winner correctly. So my money line parlay cashed out. Picked all the winners correctly. Unfortunately, I was 1 pick shy of picking every spread correctly this week, and I went against the cover gods. What can I say? They chose to take $700 out of my pockets for it, and for some reason, the Lions have to kick surprise onside kicks, get first drive explosive touchdowns, get fake punts ×2, I believe, all so they could lose by a full touchdown.
And then some, because they ended up losing by 9. This was the Detroit Lions Super Bowl. They put all the chips in the table for this one. It was incredible to see how obvious it was, how important the game was to them. Like you said, they scored a touchdown, onside kick right away, got two fake punts. It was so much fun. This was easily the most
not for
fun.
me.
If you didn't have $700 riding on this is easily the most fun game of the entire weekend because of the dramatics that was going into it. Jared Goff revenge game, obviously. Shout out to the Lions for doing it. They were 18-point dogs in this one.
16.5.
They were disrespecting them, and they came out and they gave it a really, really good fight. It's a game they could have won. Like, honestly, like they could have. They were on the 10-yard line down by 6.
Did you ever believe?
Obviously, I never believed Detroit was going to win the game. That's why I also picked the Rams.
But I'm talking about during the game when they had the ball and that going down.
No, there were definitely times where I thought Detroit might get up out of there because it just seemed like one of those games. And they were on the 10-yard line with under 2 minutes left with a chance to grab the lead and win the game. And Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald smacked Jared Goff upside the head, and Jalen Ramsey snagged the ball out the air. And that was the end of the game. It was Detroit. I mean, this is always going to be. It was always going to be, but the outside factors probably made this a little harder on Matthew Stafford than he would care to admit. Same with and then the Lions were juiced up to play their biggest game of the year. That's probably why it was closer than it should have been. But the Rams are the better football team. Cooper Kupp continues to look like the best receiver in the league, just running wide open all day long. And the better team won the football game in the end.
Eric?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard for me to bet against the Lions because I feel like
They ain't covered. They emptied the clip. I bet they're not going to be competitive for the rest of the year. Actually, except after next week.
Not with
After
Matt
next week.
Campbell. He's going to have the boys fired up all year. But I don't think the Lions are – they're probably one of the better over teams at this point, I would say. I mean, I love their fight. I love, like, they're not getting – except for, I don't know, like, every single game. But they haven't gotten their doors, like, blown off except for maybe Cincinnati.
Green Bay. They needed two – the team had to hit the longest field goal ever and another 50-yard field goal for
Minnesota.
Or they have two wins over decent opponents. So, yeah.
Good job.
They're a talentless team that's fighting really, really hard, and that's why they're 0-7.
I like to forget about this though, so let's move on.
Another game I would like to forget is the Buccaneers beating down on the Bears 38-3.
Like the Bears, there was no pride being shown by the Bears defense in that game. A little bit.
It was only it was only exactly how I said it would go. Were y'all surprised?
I was
the Bears with a rookie quarterback didn't stop the buzzsaw known as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I mean, I saw the Eagles fight, so I'm like, man, if Jalen Hurts can fight with those guys, okay, and that's probably fair. And looking back on it, that's probably fair. Looking back on it, that's probably fair. But the Bears showed up here and they looked like they didn't belong in the same league as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Justin Fields, 5 turnover play. He turned the ball over 5 times. Probably could have turned the ball over 5 more times. He's the worst coached quarterback I have ever seen. It is
Zach Wilson's not getting much better coaching.
I mean,
at least, and we don't know, but nothing. And LaFleur and the New York, we don't know if he's even good. So.
Yeah, that's fine. I've seen at least some decent things from like the Jets' offensive line. They're just bad. They're just bad. That's the Jets. But the Bears, they have they have talent. Like Allen Robinson, you and I both have one of the top 15 receivers in the NFL.
He's having a bad year. I always thought he was overrated. Like I said,
the biggest issue is this. They don't run with Justin Fields on design plays. That's how your quarterback's best strength right now is his legs. They have run 4 design plays for him running the ball. For context, Daniel Jones had 7 design runs for him on Sunday. Since Justin Fields got the starter, he's gotten 4 plays designed for him to run the ball.
I forgot to mention that play that Daniel Jones made on the catch was such a terrible play call.
Yeah, I don't know why you want your quarterback getting hit like that.
That's why you shouldn't run your quarterback. Yeah, because you have him running around there getting hit. They're protecting him.
But they're not protecting him. What are you talking about? He's standing in the pocket.
Isn't he not taking enough hits already?
But he can control the hits he's taking if he's running the ball and like eyes on guys evading. The way the pass was getting after him, it's just ridiculous. There's nothing he can do about it. They actually ran the ball really well on Tampa Bay, mostly because they were down 3 almost immediately. On Tampa Bay side, Tom Brady continues to look like the best quarterback ever. He's gonna 600 touchdowns. He's jam packed into the MVP discussion because he's putting up
garbage time numbers. But
he's putting up historic numbers at older age, and they're 6-1. Like, it's nothing you can really say about the Bucs right now. They don't have a difficult challenge until they see Buffalo at the end of the season. So this is what you can expect from from Tampa Bay going forward.
And Buffalo, you were saying it right.
Yeah.
Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers without AB. Without Gronk, doesn't matter because, like as we were saying about Kansas City has 2 weapons. Mm-hmm. They have Tariq and they have Mahomes. They have Tariq and they have Travis. Most teams that have elite offenses that we're seeing have 3, 4, 5 weapons because you're gonna have injuries and there's gonna be times where teams take away certain players. So, yeah, I mean they didn't have AB or Gronk, so they just threw the ball to Mike Evans, who caught 3 touchdowns. I mean, yeah, because he's the best receiver on the team. Chris Godwin had his biggest game in a while. He's probably the 2nd best receiver on the team. So they just used the guys that they had been ignoring to to throw the ball to AB and Gronk. And for the Bears, Justin Fields is probably not getting good coaching. Matt Nagy probably should not be coaching there anymore. And he's still a little. And the problem is he's slow to see what's coming, so he's taking bad hits in the pocket behind a bad offensive line. So hopefully he just, like Zach Wilson, hopefully he can find his way.
Find an injury, Justin. However you can find it. Get out of there. Get off that field, man. They're going to kill you. You're going to get killed.
Both of those guys look like they're just going to get thrown away. And Mac Jones is looking good because he's been put in a nice, of all the rookie quarterbacks, he's been put in a nice cushiony position where he's going to survive. And that's really all you got to do as a rookie quarterback. Just survive the year without any devastating injuries. Try to avoid being Joe Burrow without Joe Burrow talent. So that's all I got to say for this, Eric. want to chime in about this blowout?
Yeah, congratulations.
Oh, but by the way, me and Moody, before you go, me and Moody had a bet. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers did win. They were the fastest team to go up 3 possessions on a day where a lot of people were going up 3 possessions real quick.
So congratulations to Tom Brady on his 600th career touchdown. GOAT.
Only played 22 years.
We're gonna talk about this man who got the football. How are you giving that up? How?
Isaiah can give you the explanation.
Eric,
he explained it the way that I understand it because I was thinking the same way.
That man had 0 chance of going anywhere with that football. Once they identified who had it, they went and got it from him. And they said, we could take it from you and give you something that you probably didn't deserve, or we could just take it from you and make you go disappear.
No
You
shot.
You don't think the NFL is powerful enough to dig that football back? $1 billion organization was going to let the first ever 600 touchdown pass ball out of their grip. They went and got it.
Eric, at first glance, I was behind you. I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm giving that football back for anything less than $1 million. Like that's what that football would have been worth to me. But yeah,
I think it's valued at $500,000.
It had valued at $500,000. I'm sure he could have upped the price even more. That ball's going to Canton, Ohio, to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that ball doesn't even belong to Tom Brady.
But yeah, the NFL would.
I think it was after what he gave.
He would have been FBI's most wanted. He would have been number 1 on FBI's most wanted if he even got out of the building. But there's no way he would have got out of the building. The Buccaneers fans would have tackled him to make sure he ain't got out of the building. Security would have got his ass. It didn't matter.
Some salty fan would have tried to help.
The fact that he's going to make out with some Bitcoin, he's going to make out with $1,000 a team merch, season tickets for a football that shouldn't have got handed to him in the first place. He maximized his profit.
And Mike Evans, hey, bro, come on, Mike. It was, it had to be on the pregame pamphlet. What we looking for today? Today, Tom Brady's gonna probably throw a 600 touchdown pass. Mike Evans catches it because he's just happy to be on a good team now, and he's just like, here we whoop up on people, so we just give away footballs all day. But Eric, how do you feel about it? I mean, what more can you have gotten?
I mean, you can also compare it to when like Babe Ruth not Babe Ruth. When Barry Bonds hit his record-breaking home run, they escorted that man out of the building with the ball. But baseballs are easier to destroy, in my opinion, or get rid of. He could, especially in San Francisco, he could have chucked. If he had a good arm, if he was far enough, he could have chucked it out of the stadium into the river. You know that river's right behind him. Why would you do that? They escorted him out of the stadium he had the ball and kept it and sold it.
I guess they were just cool with that. But, Brady and the Bucs were not going to.
The NFL's different. I
don't know. I mean, he got 2 signed helmets from Brady, a signed Mike Evans jersey, $1,000 to the team store. Which, all right, thanks for giving me money that I'm just giving right back to you.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
He's gonna flip that online for like $10K.
Or he's gonna buy everybody's jersey.
Either way, he slipped it online. I can't imagine. No one needs $1,000 in team merch. You got to be going to flip that.
That's 10 jerseys. That's 10 jerseys.
Why would you pay for 10 jerseys?
So you can remember the year that Tampa Bay had Tom Brady and all these Hall of Fame. He's going to get a jersey for every Hall of Fame player on the team.
Yeah, and it'll be going online being sold at $500 a pop.
They won't be worth anything because they'll just be bought jerseys. Because they'll just be bought jerseys. Now, the signed memorabilia, that's like 10K a pop. And then the Bitcoin, and then
the keys to Bitcoin
and the signed game cleats.
Yeah.
So come on, he
maximized.
I would have been season tickets until Tom Brady leaves town.
I mean, 2 years,
and they told you in 2 years.
They're like, hey, bro, enjoy. They're just enjoying this. Everybody in Tampa Bay, they just enjoying this because they don't know how they made this happen. They had a good team, and then Tom Brady joined and brought friends, and now they got the best team probably. So. We can stop talking about Tom Brady whenever y'all ready, though.
So let's move on to Arizona, where Arizona covered the 20-point spread, 31-5.
Not much to talk about here.
What did you say before? Put a number down.
Put a number down. They would cover it no matter how big it got. And I'm sure they knew what the spread was and made sure they get over that. Of course, they got Hopkins going early, touchdown. JJ Watt. I think
in the backfield all day long.
Yeah, I think. Obviously, J.J. Watt and Hopkins got more pay towards the Texas than Stafford got towards Detroit. I think that's
Hopkins wasn't. They were
completely
force
clear.
feeding Hopkins, but he wasn't just murdering the
Houston
game.
somehow has been decent in the secondary. It doesn't make sense how they've been able to hold, mostly because they're just bad and behind, so they're just getting ran on all
Their
day.
linebackers are really good at coverage. Too.
That's true as well. But there's not much to say here. The Cardinals are the only undefeated team in the league for a reason. They're really good. Houston's, we thought had a chance to be a 0-for team. They're a 1-for team right now, and that second win could be a long, long way away.
Or Jacksonville.
So yeah, overall for them, the Cardinals are a better football team. They beat a bad team.
Yeah, and they like played with their food. Like the Texans were down like 5 to 10.
They were up 5-0. The
Yeah.
Texans had scored the first 5 points of the game.
I just
Like,
want to know how two
that
teams
never
scored
mattered.
5 points in one game, but in two separate games this one week. But yeah, there's nothing. Arizona mopped the floor with the Texans. The Texans didn't do anything. They didn't block anybody all day. They can't score. They have a bad O-line now that their best offensive players out, other than Deshaun Watson, and they still have Deshaun Watson hovering over their franchise. So hopefully they get some picks or players back to plug it in and maybe make this start looking good. But Nick Caserio is probably the only person surviving this era of Texans football into the future. Everybody else,
Not even the coach.
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Not even
he's
the
just a
coach.
placeholder because they
David
couldn't get
Culley
it.
got him fighting hard though.
Yeah, but they probably didn't want to give him the job. He just
Yeah.
they just had to give it to somebody.
because Deshaun Watson claimed that he wanted a black coach, and then said, "No, I'm still leaving."
So everybody hears, and Caserio probably not safe. The Texans are not doing anything for probably the next few years, unless they bank off that trade for Deshaun Watson. Anything else to say about this team, Eric? Though.
Yeah, a little fun fact. This was a scoregami game. This has
Yeah.
never happened before.
Back-to-back weeks.
31-5.
Back-to-back weeks.
But no, Arizona dominated. It was a revenge game. I'm surprised J.J. Watt didn't get a touchdown, honestly. They didn't just throw him in there at tight end just to lay it on for the former Texans. But, yeah, that game was –
Yeah, and before you move on, what would you say? Where would y'all rank the Cardinals' weapons? I think they might have the best set of receivers in the NFL.
I disagree. I think they have one amazing one, and then an offense that makes the other guys look a lot better than what they are.
AJ Green still got it.
I like if you're talking about AJ Green, I still got
Look
it.
at his numbers this
He did
year.
not-
Look at his numbers.
and I said it. It's the scheme that he's playing in the air raid, 4 out, and Kyler Murray pulling all the strings. It's why those other receivers look good. I think that's why AJ Green, Christian Kirk, Rondell Moore. Like, I'm not taking any of those guys over the third Bucks guy.
Because that's AB. Because they got AB. So
I wouldn't take him over Michael Gallup in Dallas.
I would. I think AJ Green's better than Michael Gallup. Let's be real. AJ Green's better
I
than
don't believe
Michael
that's
Gallup.
true for a second. I don't believe that's true for a second.
I think
AJ
Christian Kirk is just as good.
Where's his 1,100-yard season? He got one?
We'll see. At least he's playing right now.
So
AJ Green better than AJ Green.
AJ Green hasn't been better than Michael Gallup for a few years. Like he's old and done.
Look at,
but
look at his number.
Look, he's playing in a fantastic scheme. Kyler Murray, who's the league MVP right now, is making it happen for those guys, extending plays, getting guys down the field. So, yeah, I respect Kyler Murray. I respect what their offensive scheme is doing, and I respect Hopkins, but their best receiving weapons in the league,
They got the best receiver and then like some good top 20 receivers, maybe. But we'll see. We'll see. Now, Tampa Bay is by far. We don't have to.
like. Do they have? I don't even think they have the best set of receivers in their division. I don't even think they're
the
second.
Rams guys?
I think the Rams guys are better, and I think the Seahawks guys are
Cooper
better.
Kupp is not better than.
Cooper Kupp, the best receiver in the league right now. He
No.
on pace for 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns.
Him and Devontae Adams are being force-fed in the best system for what they're doing. But next game, Eric. Next.
All right, we'll get into the rainstorm game. Sunday Night Football. The Indianapolis Colts beat the San Francisco 49ers 30-18.
I didn't see a ton of this because I was too busy watching the Lakers. All I saw was the San Francisco 49ers offense continues to look pathetic. Just Jimmy Garoppolo isn't good. But Trey Lance is hurt right now, so they can't replace him. Carson Wentz threw about 5 possible interceptions that got dropped or mishandled or
He had the
whatever.
worst one of the year.
And they call it a fumble, so he gets to go
It was
on.
a fumble, empty hand.
He gets to have the streak up. I haven't thrown a pick in 2 weeks.
No, if you
because
look at it, the ball
he
came out before.
He literally pushed the ball right to a defender. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, it was a sloppy, rainy game that the Colts are just a better team than the Niners right now because the Niners have Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. And the time has run out. Their defense used to be elite when you could get away with Jimmy Garoppolo.
They got the last of the Richard Sherman in the back end.
When you used to be able to play with a Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, but that's not the case anymore. Like Jimmy Garoppolo is no longer a guy who can be the bus driver on a elite defense because your defense ain't elite no more. And yeah, San Francisco, good luck to them. Hope they got to get Trey Lance in the lineup as quickly as possible. That's the only way they're going to be able to offset their defensive losses. As for the Colts, great bounce back after a hellish first 6 weeks of the season for their schedule wise. Their offensive line's healthy and playing really well. Jonathan Taylor looks really good. Their defense has picked it up, and Carson Wentz looks solid. And so the Colts look like a team that, now that they've gotten through that horrible rough patch of their schedule, can really settle into a wild card or a division race with the Tennessee Titans.
Because they're playing them next week. That is true. Now, I will say, I don't think on the 49ers side, first, I don't think they're going to put Trey Lance back in the game until they play Jacksonville, because they have Jacksonville, Minnesota, Seattle, Cincy, Falcons. So they have their schedule. The next they have the Cardinals and Rams and Bears coming up. So I think they might let Jimmy Garoppolo fully shit the bed and push him along. If they don't trade him, they could trade him, but I don't know who would really want to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. But there's some quarterback needy teams out there. And secondly, their secondary is the worst, might be one of the worst secondaries in the NFL, because there was about 100 yards of PI, and it was like not questionable PI, like throwing the ball up, tackling the receiver right away.
Like they let Sherman out the door. They already lost Verrett for the year. They had to go play. They had to go sign Josh Norman. Like if you're the team that's signing,
he forced 2 fumbles.
If you're the team that's signing Josh Norman, that usually means your secondary is in
to start for you, especially.
Yeah, that usually means your secondary is in pieces, and that's what it is for San Francisco.
And as for the Colts, I mean, Jonathan Taylor, I was the only person I put him in the top 10. He has had a great season. He's really picked it up since Quentin Nelson was back in this game too. Another 100-yard game. Carson Wentz, I think he's got like 11 touchdowns, 1 interception, having a good – him and Frank Wright are working things out. Good that that's not – Philadelphia really screwed that situation way up somehow. They don't have anybody, not Frank Wright, not Peterson, not Wentz, but they got the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And as for the receiver, I actually bet a Michael Pittman touchdown. He scored a big explosive one. He drew 2 other PI calls, so he could have had one of those 200-yard days. He looked unstoppable. Zach Pascal looked good, even though he didn't do much because he drew a couple more PI calls, I believe. And the Colts offense looks like they're getting things to get it going. And I think a big revenge game for DeForest Buckner. He was playing his ass off. And to this point, we'll continue to beat like a dead horse. We don't know. Now, they were saying on the broadcast that it was cheaper to keep Armstead, and they kept Armstead.
And when you cheap out, this is what happens.
Because they're not even
usually when you cheap out
now.
Usually when you cheap out, you're not keeping the better football players, and that's what's happened here. Like, no, you let the
Armstead's having a good year though,
but you let the All-Pro 3 technique D
special player.
That's impactful.
Buckner's special. Armstead's good.
Solid. Like, come on.
And last but definitely least, oh, Eric, what else you got? Anything else to say about this game?
Yeah, my pickup on fantasy of the week was Mo Alley Cox. Thank you for the touchdown. He's a huge target within the 5-yard line for Carson Wentz this year.
Former VCU basketball player.
That's right. That's really all I had. This game was ugly with the rain, and the scoring went quick and then really slowed down once it really started raining there.
Yeah, when the rain came in, it was like, oh, this is just not good anymore.
All right, let's move on to some more ugly football.
Oh, lastly, hot seat for Kyle Shanahan. Because
no, he's good. He's good right now because
he barely won anything there.
They were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago,
and that's the only thing keeping his record.
We understand that since they allowed him to draft a quarterback, I think he'll get at least a year with Trey Lance as the starter full time. Obviously, Trent Williams missed the game on Sunday. That's a devastating injury for them. He's the best left tackle in the league, we argue, and he wasn't around out there. And we know the injuries that they're suffering in San Francisco just in general, but especially in the secondary. They're going to have to put in some resources to rebuild that secondary next season. And then Brandon Ayuk.
Eric cursed him. Eric cursed his whole season.
Might have cursed his whole career.
He'll go somewhere else like
Debo. Right team, but wrong receiver. All right, so let's move on to the Monday Night Football game. Another snooze fest, another rainy day in Seattle where the Saints go up there and win 13-10.
Did you expect anything else from Jameis Winston versus Geno Smith
in the rain?
Like that's what this was destined to be. Ugly, sloppy football between 2 below average quarterbacks, and that's exactly what the Saints defense is now healthy, and that's what they look like. They gave up the one crazy busted play to DK Metcalf, and that was it. That's all they gave up the rest of the game. The Seahawks couldn't do anything on offense. They couldn't run the ball, but they chose to keep slamming it up in there over and over and over again, and it never worked. It was 2 yards in a cloud of dust every single time, and they just kept punting the football away.
Sound like Mina Kimes.
Here's the stat that Mina Kimes put off today on NFL Live, Isaiah. At one point in the game, the Seahawks ran the ball 9 consecutive times.
They got Geno Smith playing
for 3 straight 3-and-outs.
That style works for
3 straight 3-and-outs.
That style works when you're playing with your backup quarterback. That's usually what you do.
It works for 3 straight 3-and-outs. That's how well it works.
They did not have a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter. Like,
yeah,
no matter what's going on,
their defense gave up 13 points.
Their defense is terrible, and all of a sudden,
because it was in rain. James Winston was on the other side. That's why. And then on the other side, why did they decide not to guard Alvin Kamara out the backfield? Like, that's literally job.
That can't beat you. It can't really beat you if you're playing if you play decently, it can't beat you. And that's what they showed.
But they don't really have anything else. They have nothing else.
They didn't want to find out. They didn't want to find out.
What was you gonna find out? Like
Callaway caught a Hail Mary against the Washington football team and put him away. So you didn't want to find out if any of these receivers.
If you was worried about Marquez Callaway, not Alvin Kamara, that's why you lost the football game.
I think that's my biggest come away is how far Seattle's fallen. They have nothing in the secondary at corner.
Yeah, they gave up all those first round picks for Jamal. They gave up 2 first round picks for Jamal.
I disagree with that in the move.
And then their first round pick a couple years ago was a healthy scratch in LJ Collier. Jordan Brooks is a Sam linebacker.
So what about the
Rashad
cornerbacks?
Penny's
What about the cornerbacks that guard?
Do any of these sound like drafted cornerbacks to you? No, like Seattle has gone out of their way to draft and use their assets as disastrously bad as you can use them. They have 2 good players. They got not 2 good players. They have special players on either side of the ball, and Russell Wilson
and their 2 receivers.
2 receivers. DK Metcalf, he's call him special. Tyler Lockett is not special. And then Bobby Wagner on the other side. He's their only really above average defender that they have right now. I like Poona Ford, but it's a problem. There's that team is not talented, but it was being dragged by an elite quarterback who's not playing. So they're not going to win as long as Russell Wilson's out. It's just not going to happen.
I mean, the Seahawks are just the preview of what the Kansas City Chiefs might be in a few years. Good quarterback,
hope
good weapons,
hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl.
Defense. I mean, Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson, this relationship's probably ending.
They got
no matter what.
Or
they can trade Russ.
You should keep the quarterback. Seattle keep the quarterback. That's the bet. No, actually, no. We're fans of NFC football teams. Please keep Pete Carroll. Please keep Pete Carroll.
To the NFC East, so
that's totally fine with me. I have no fear of Pete Carroll whatsoever.
No, I'm talking about Russell Wilson.
Oh yeah. That's try to avoid. No, Deshaun Watson for Russell Wilson. Who says no?
Russell Wilson, because they have a no trade clause.
Okay.
Both of them did.
Both of them. Right,
this relationship. Pete Carroll is probably going to lose it. He's the oldest coach in the NFL. He kind of came out in the post conference and said that he gave Russell Wilson a bunch of credit. He didn't have to, but it came out of his words out of his mouth. So when they decide this year, when Russell Wilson says Pete or me, goodbye Pete. Unless they win the Super Bowl, Russell Wilson comes back. He's coming back next week, and they win the Super Bowl. Maybe while other things have happened. Eric. Oh, also, I left this game in the beginning of the fourth quarter because it was that bad. It was that bad.
Yeah, I mean, also the Saints, losing Drew Brees to retirement is downfall.
Here you go, Eric. I said that to Moody yesterday. Let's put some pressure on Sean Payne.
They're 4-2. They're 4-2
to the Panther and the Giants.
They got some pretty abysmal losses, but at the end of the day, they're 4-2, and we can always remember week 1.
Yeah, but they played Tampa Bay. They still have Tennessee on the schedule, Buffalo, Dallas. They have a rough stretch coming up. So
they got a rough stretch, but they're a team that could be a 6-7 seed in the playoffs just because
they're in the NFC.
They're in the NFC. They got
2 teams in the NFC are going to make the playoffs that aren't playoff teams.
Exactly.
I think they play Buffalo on Thanksgiving.
That'd be.
They have They have a big matchup against Tampa Bay this week. Their defense has been clicking
for the top of the division,
and Lattimore is going to be good against Mike Evans. So if no AB, that could be interesting.
Yeah, and Lattimore was getting into it with who was getting into it with DK?
It was Lattimore. They were fighting.
Lattimore had another one of those games where he just takes Lattimore's good enough to take your number 1 out of the game when he's playing at his best. And outside of the explosive play that DK Metcalf played, that's what he did.
Yeah, just don't put Saquon Barkley over him if you want to make him forget. Is that it?
Yep.
Is it time to move on to MVP rankings?
Yep.
All right, I'll just go ahead and go first and get this out the way. Slight change from my previous 2-week rankings. Obviously, Mr. Justin Herbert has to get kicked on up out of there. Lamar Jackson also has to get tossed on out of there after he got mollywopped.
Joe Burrow gets to be the AFC quarterback.
Yeah.
I know a couple weeks ago I said the AFC was probably going to win the MVP because I do believe it'll be Josh Allen based on his schedule. But man, they're gonna have to play each other for the other teams.
It's a bloodbath over
so
there.
the NFC quarterbacks might finesse just not having to play.
At number 3 enters the GOAT, Tom Brady. Obviously, his numbers are ridiculous, but he has gotten blown out by a good team this year handily against the Rams. He didn't play well in that game.
How could he be above him?
He didn't play well in the Matthew Stafford, because I don't think Matthew Stafford's been as impressive either. I think that's been more. His schedule's been worse, and
we have the same type of schedule.
And I'm giving Cooper Kupp a lot of that credit. Anyway, Tom Brady at number 3, he's putting up ridiculous. He's going to put up a career high in numbers this year if he gets through all 17 games, which Tom Brady usually does because he's well protected. His receivers look great. The Bucs look awesome. They're good. They're still the favorites in the NFC to go to the Super Bowl. If Arizona loses one game, they'll probably be the 1 seed. At number 2, even though he was on a bye this week, we're gonna keep my man Rain Dakota Prescott up there at 2. His team's 5-1, and no one picked the Cowboys to be 5-1 at this point. So for them to be at the position they're in, it's because of him, and he gets his deserved spot within the top 3. And at number 1, obviously it's Mr. Kyler Murray. They're 7-0. He's having career numbers across the board. They look really, really good. They've beaten some good football teams. It's not like they've been running over a bunch of chump change. They got some good wins on the schedule. And yeah, Kyler Murray, front runner for MVP until someone knocks him off.
So I still have Kyler at 1. At 2, I've climbing back into the race. I've got Matthew Stafford because, him and Cooper Kupp are going to put up 2007 Tom Brady, Randy Moss-like numbers this year. And at number 3, sorry, Derrick Henry, but Tom Brady's just going to run it up against everybody this year. So, and all the AFC guys. So Tom Brady is stat padded his way to number 3.
Yeah, so I'm also going Kyler at 1 until he loses. And then I'm gonna go Tom Brady, the GOAT, my MVP prediction. And then I'm gonna go 3, Dak Prescott.
Okay. So my challenge, I'm ready to put out a challenge for you guys. I am willing to bet $25 a person, so for each one of you, that Matthew Stafford will finish higher in the MVP final race than Dak Prescott. I'm putting it on the table right now.
I won't take that, no.
That's hard because the Rams have a better team. So
it's not all world.
It's not all world, but it's better. It's a better team.
Fighting with Detroit yesterday.
Yeah, because that was Detroit's Super Bowl, but Dak don't got an Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey on his defense to go out there.
Just Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah, that's it. Just Trayvon Diggs. Overall, I want to take it. I do. Yeah, we'll do it.
Wow.
There we go. Eric said no. He doesn't care about anybody enough. He'll take Tom Brady though.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for joining us this week.
Thursday night preview coming up.
Yep, football was coming off a bad week of football, even though I picked every game right.
Why would y'all keep Buffalo, Dallas, and the Chargers all off in the same week, NFL? Like, that was an awful, awful idea.
Only 2 teams on bye this week, though, and it's the Ravens and Raiders.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
So, we'll be back for the Thursday night preview. Thanks for joining us. All right, Eric, catch you later.
All right, my man.